Hey guys, it's coffee time. Felt like I had to just sip a little bit of that because it's at the bottom of it. With something I've learned about the single serve coffee maker is that there's a lot that settles at the bottom. So not as bad as like if you've ever had Turkish coffee, how there's just like that layer of silt at the bottom. Nothing like that. But just, just enough where all of the coffee that's at the bottom is way stronger than the rest of the coffee in the cup. So once I get to that level, I just kind of sip it, almost like I'm drinking whiskey. I'm just like, and I'm done. But yes, hello. I just got done with the Aniverse podcast. That was very fun. So that's with Dr. Daza and Yokorama, who are both on MangaPod. And then the other dude, Bill, who was hilarious. I had never met him before tonight. So it was very, very fun. We just discussed anime in general and stuff like that. So that's pretty cool. You guys should check that out if you're interested in anime. They all talk about like what they've been watching and answer questions and whatever else. So it was cool. It was very fun. And it was a little bit out of my element. So I was really glad when there were times when I actually had like an opinion on something, because I haven't been keeping up with the anime of like the last season at all. The only one that I started watching was Amnesia, and it was really pretty, but I couldn't quite get into it, so I just stopped. And I actually today tried to watch a little bit more of it, and I was like, this could get interesting, but the characters are so bland to me. Like, they look nice, I guess, but the imagery is really heavy-handed, and I don't know. So I'm going to try to keep watching it, and we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so I was a little bit concerned. I was like, I haven't been, keeping up with any anime, any new ones, so I hope that it'll turn out okay. And I think that it did. It was really fun for me. So hopefully it was fun for everybody that was able to watch. And what else did I do today? I had to stay home because we had a plumber who was supposed to come by. Okay, so our dishwasher doesn't work. Along with the dishwasher not working, now suddenly our sink in the kitchen won't work. But all the other sinks work, water pressure, everywhere else is totally fine. So I was like, well, maybe they're connected because they're right next to each other. They use the same piping. I was like, maybe this is like a problem wherever they're getting the water. Maybe it's like a specific pipe. So we called our landlord, and we were like, hey, so I know you knew that the dishwasher wasn't working, but now the sink in the kitchen won't work either, the faucet. And he asked us to like dink around with the pipes and see if anything would happen. And I was like, if we're going to get water everywhere. We didn't, fortunately, but nothing that we did worked because none of us are plumbers. So I called him back and I was like, hey, that didn't work. So there was a plumber that was supposed to come over today to fix it. And I got a call pretty late in the day where he was like, so I couldn't get a hold of my plumber, so he's going to come tomorrow. I was like, how do you know that if you didn't get a hold of him? Okay, like, I hope that he comes tomorrow. That would be great. We also now have a third puppy here. I know you guys still have yet to see the puppies, but they are not housebroken at all. So they're kind of like secluded in an area. They have plenty of space to roam around, but we're slowly making their space bigger so that they start to consider the whole, like everywhere, as space that they don't want to defile, right? So we had like an accident counter up on the whiteboard. It was so funny. I don't know who wrote it. I'm assuming Sarah, but it said accident-free days, and we got up to 3. And then after the Aniverse podcast, actually, I came out of my room and I looked at the whiteboard and it had a frowny face. It said accident-free days, frowny face. And then it just said Bugsy in giant all caps letters. And I was like, oh, did Bugsy pee on something? And apparently he like, because now they've brought the girl over and she's so cute. She's very scared though. But yeah, so they brought the girl here and let the boys out so that they could all meet each other. And while Sarah was like getting the leashes so that she could take them out so they could pee, Bugsy like sniffed the girl and then ran over to Chris's bag and just peed on it. And they were like, no, you were so close. I was just about to take you outside. So, yeah, not housebroken, unfortunately. But there are people that are interested in having them, so that's good. So that'll be a thing. But I can't even remember why I started talking about that. Oh yeah, there's 3 dogs in the house. There are 3 dogs. And they progressively get smaller. Bugsy is the huge one. And then there's Duke, who's like definitely underweight, but just a smaller dog in general. And then there's the girl who is even smaller than the other 2. And I'm like, I wonder if Bugsy is the sibling. You know how sometimes with dogs and with cats, I guess, maybe with all mammals, anything that like drinks from the mom, I'm wondering if Bugsy was like that puppy that was like, get out of here. Just like shoved them out of the way so that he could drink, and then just wound up becoming like the bigger one that kind of shoved them out of the way so he could eat first and things like that. That's the only explanation that I can come up with. I had a bunch of kittens that were that way when I was fostering kittens. Roy Mustang, the cat. I named them all after Fullmetal Alchemist characters. But Roy Mustang was, huge cat compared to the other ones, and they were all the same age. And he definitely, when I would go feed them, he definitely would just, like, shove his face in there and, like, just, like, take up the whole thing. So I wound up having to give them separate bowls. And then he would eat all of his food and try to eat theirs, and I was like, no, I'm gonna pick you up and play with you so that they can eat, you dummy. For those of you who were curious, it was Roy Mustang, Olivia was the girl cat, Hohenheim, and Ed. Those were the cats. Roy and Ed were the ones that were like super intense. Hohenheim, or Ho-Ho, as I started calling him, Hohenheim was super broody cat, and at night he would meow, he would meow, meow. I was like, Ho-Ho. So I eventually like got him used to sleeping with me, and then he was fine. And then Olivia was the worst. She was such a mean cat. She was sweet to me, but she would do things that were actively defiant all the time, and it drove me nuts. So, any of you who know Fullmetal Alchemist, Brotherhood, or the manga, you know that those personalities wound up kind of suiting the people, oddly enough. But, yeah. So, I'm assuming that Bugsy is the one that was just like, got all up on the food before them, and the girl is just so scared. So I did the thing where, like, because when she first saw me, she growled, because I think I didn't realize she was there, so I just kind of burst in, and I was like, bah! After Aniverse, and then realized that there was a dog that didn't know me, and she growled at me a little bit, and so I did the thing where I, like, turned around and backed up toward her, so I wasn't looking at her, I just kind of backed up, and then I sat down next to the cage, and then I just kind of, like, put my hand in there so she could sniff it, and she, like, reached over and sniffed. And then she kind of backed up a little. Then she came over and sniffed again, and then she backed up, and then she kind of laid there. And then I reached my hand in more and went to see if she would let me pet her, and she kind of like backed away from me, and so I was like, okay. So I sat there for a while, and eventually she let me pet her, which was nice. She's super cute, but very, very scared. Very scared. So I was like, oh, girly. I watched, oh my gosh. I ordered food. Because I had to stay home for the plumber that never showed up. But I ordered food and turned on TV and realized there was a House Hunters marathon. That show drives me nuts. Like, I love it. I love it. So the setup of the show is that it's a person who wants a home in a particular area. And so they hire a realtor. Is that what they're called? Oh my gosh, I'm getting words mixed up in my head right now. A person who finds homes for you. They hire somebody, and that person picks 3 houses and shows them 3 houses, and then they have to pick one place out of those 3 houses. So, some of them I was like, oh, like, I understand your reasoning for these things. And then some of them I was like, what? And it might be because I'm so used to, at this point, Like, I'm so used to having very limited space, and even then, it's like, this is like more than plenty of people have in the world. So I should not be picky. There were people who were demanding so many things out of their houses, and the realtor would always be like, they would do the, the aside where they talk to the realtor about the house, and they'd be like, well, she's demanding a backyard, but she also wants to be in the middle of town, and they don't have houses with backyards in the middle of the city, so it's hard. Yeah, they're like trying to choose their words very carefully, because these people are like, I want a backyard, I want 3 stars, I want a kitchen that's not too big but not too small, and I want a front porch, and I want like just this huge list. And then they go into this house and they're like, wow, that bathroom is way too small, and I can't believe there's no bathtub, and oh my god, my backyard is just not sufficient. And they're like, you can't get that big of a backyard in the middle of the city. I don't know what you want. So yeah, there were some that were interesting that weren't quite as like basic. Most of them, are just, hi, we're a couple and we want a house in this place. And there were some that had like really interesting modifiers. Like, one of them that I watched, the guy was an architect. So every place that they went, he was like, oh, there's signs of leakage, we'd have to completely replace the roof. And then everybody'd be like, like, oh, awkward. And then they'd walk somewhere else and he'd be like, the floor trim is really, that's not going to do. Just be like, we'd have to replace all of that. Get like really upset. And then the other one that I loved was this couple that does planning, like party planning. And so they run this business together. And yeah, so like their home, they were like, we want a house for like us and for our son, but we also need a place that can double as like an event place. So I kept like going to these crazy places where they were like, maybe a little too eventy, or maybe a little too homey. And I was like, how do you do this? Like, if I was a realtor, I'd be like, I don't know how to help you. So yeah, I watched a House Hunters marathon. I watched like 3 episodes, I think. It took me, like 1.5 episodes to eat, and then I was hooked, and I just kept watching it. HGTV is so smart. This is the last thing I'll say because I've talked for a while. HGTV is so smart. Do you know what they do? They don't put any commercials between the end of the last episode and the beginning of the next episode. How brilliant is that? So you finish up watching that last episode, and then it immediately goes into the next episode. And you're like, oh, well, I guess if I'm here, and it gives you no time to unsuck yourself. That was my downfall, but I did have, enough of a sober moment to be like, this is so brilliant. This is genius. Why don't more people do this? My goodness. Yeah. Anywho, I'm going to go. I hope you guys had an amazing day, and I will talk to you again tomorrow. Okay, bye-bye. Mwah.